You're listening to a production of the National Media Archive. To learn more or volunteer, go to nationalmediaarchive.com.
Why do some CEOs crash billion-dollar companies and still land on their feet often richer than before? Let me paint you a picture. Adam Neumann, the eccentric founder of WeWork, presided over a $47 billion implosion. Yet, he walked away with $1.7 billion. Dennis Muhlenberg mismanaged Boeing's 737 MAX disaster, leading to 346 tragic deaths, but exited with $62 million and a new CEO gig. Now, you might be thinking, how on earth is this possible? Today, we'll dive into the mechanics of failing upward at the top echelons of corporate power. This isn't just about bad luck or isolated incidents. It's a pattern of paradox that leaves regular employees scratching their heads. So, buckle up as we unpack why the higher you climb, the softer your landing seems to get, even when you stumble spectacularly. Ever heard of the term golden parachute? It's not just a buzzword, it's a technical safety net that ensures executives float gently away from catastrophe, often with millions in hand. But why does this protection exist and who's really paying for it? Let's start by acknowledging the emotional impact on teams, shareholders, and the public. When regular workers lose jobs, they get a pink slip and a handshake. But when CEOs fail, they get a check with more zeros than most people see in a lifetime. How did we get here? Stay with me as we dig into the three main drivers behind this phenomenon and what it means for anyone trying to build a career, ethical reputation, or just make sense of corporate America's upside-down reward system. Let's tackle the first big reason: corporate America's obsession with experience. Picture this: entry-level jobs demanding 3 years experience, or even a decade in a programming language that's barely existed 5. Now imagine the CEO job where experience becomes a sort of golden ticket. But here's the conflict. The only way to get CEO experience is by already having been a CEO. This creates a closed loop, a kind of leadership monoculture. Harvard Business Review survey shows most top CEOs come not from within companies, but from elite management consulting backgrounds. Think McKinsey, Bain, BCG. Now you might be asking, aren't these people chosen for their unique skills? Strangely, studies show the opposite. CEOs with sector-specific expertise, like engineering, actually outperform the so-called leadership experts from consulting. Yet companies keep picking from the same insular pool. It's like picking your soccer team from people who watch the game, not play it. But they have experience, boards say. But is it the right experience? So next time you see a company recycle a CEO from another big firm, remember, experience is a double-edged sword. Sometimes it just means you've been in the room more often, not that you know how to win the game. Here's a question. Why do so many CEOs seem to know each other? The answer is the power of networks, what some call the old boys club of corporate leadership. When hiring boards look for new CEOs, they rarely reach outside their comfort zone. A workplace intelligence report found that over 7% of Fortune 500 CEOs had worked at McKinsey before leading another company. Bain, BCG, Oliver Wyman consulting firms dominate the pipeline. It's like musical chairs at the top, with the same faces swapping seats. Imagine if every time a company needed a new leader, they just called their friends from business school. That's essentially what's happening. Boards even hire consulting firms to help pick CEOs, who then recommend people from their own alumni lists. Now you might be thinking, isn't this just efficient networking? Sure, but it also means new perspectives are hard to find. When everyone in the room thinks the same, mistakes get repeated and failures get recycled. For anyone serious about personal growth, remember, building your network matters, but don't underestimate the value you bring from outside the echo chamber. Sometimes, disruption is what drives real progress. Let's talk about golden parachutes, the contractual clauses that guarantee multi-million-dollar payouts if a CEO is fired or pushed out. These aren't just generous severance packages. They're tactical shields against risk. Take Steve Easterbrook, the ex-McDonald's CEO who received $70 million after being fired for violating company policy. Or Heinz, the smartphone exec eyeing a $55 million payday if his company sells. Why do boards agree to this? Because they want to attract proven leaders, even if it means paying them to leave. Here's the setup. If you're a top executive, you negotiate these terms before you even start. The conflict? Shareholders and employees often feel these packages reward failure, not success. But the resolution for boards is simple. They see it as buying peace, predictability, and sometimes a quick turnaround when things go south. Golden parachutes are like insurance policies expensive, but they make risk manageable for high-flying executives. For aspiring leaders, the lesson is clear. Learn to negotiate, but also measure your worth by your actual impact, not just your exit plan. So, next time you see a CEO walk away with a fortune, remember, in the world of corporate contracts, safety nets are woven with gold threads. Let's dig into incentives. Why do companies keep hiring the same kinds of leaders, even when results disappoint? The answer lies in risk aversion. Imagine you're a top-tier CEO candidate. Do you pick the safe, stable company, or the risky startup? Almost everyone chooses safety. The technical term here is selection bias. Companies desperate for turnaround talent must offer outsized rewards. Think 20 million exit deals to lure seasoned executives. But ironically, this means the riskiest companies end up with leaders who are more motivated by the insurance policy than the challenge itself. Now, you might ask, isn't that backwards? Absolutely. It's like giving a parachute to someone who's already on the ground. The best leaders who could make the biggest difference often avoid the roles that need the most, unless the golden parachute is irresistible. The conflict? Boards want both innovation and stability, but the price of attracting experienced leaders is often complacency. The resolution? Smart boards are starting to rethink how they weigh risk and reward, looking for leaders who thrive on challenge, not just comfort. For your own growth, challenge yourself to run toward opportunity, not just away from risk. Sometimes, the best outcomes come from taking the leap, even without a parachute. Let's face it, CEOs are often scapegoats. When a company stumbles, think WeWork or Boeing, the board needs a public symbol of change. The CEO becomes the lightning rod, absorbing blame for problems they may not have directly caused. Here's a technical setup. Figurehead risk. Boards use CEO turnover to signal a new direction. Investors see a firing and think, now things will improve. But sometimes, it's just optics. Real issues remain unaddressed. Remember, Adam Neumann wasn't the only one responsible for WeWork's flawed business model, and Dennis Muilenburg didn't personally program Boeing's faulty systems. But their departures soothed markets, at least temporarily. Now you might be wondering, is this fair? Not always, but in high-stakes business, perception can matter as much as reality. For leaders at any level, the lesson is, own your decisions, but be ready to carry the burden of your title. If you aspire to lead, realize that the higher your profile, the greater your responsibility, not just for results, but for representing the entire company in good times and bad. Want to know a secret? The real superpower of top executives isn't just decision-making, it's negotiation leverage. CEOs negotiate everything: salaries, stock options, exit packages, even the conditions of their own firing. Take Elon Musk at Tesla. He demanded shares worth over $80 billion for developing AI within the company, arguing he needed 25% control. If denied, he threatened to take his talents elsewhere, leveraging his own brand and the company's stock price. The technical terms here are minority shareholder influence and dilution risk. Musk's demands put the board in a bind: give in and dilute everyone else, or refuse and risk tanking the company's value. Now imagine you're on the board. Do you risk upsetting investors by diluting shares, or risk losing the visionary who's propping up your market cap? It's a lose-lose, unless you're the CEO, in which case you're holding all the cards. For personal growth, remember, negotiation skills are invaluable at every level. The better you can articulate your value and leverage your position, the more control you have over your destiny. Just keep your ethics in check. Did you know a simple CEO announcement can move a company's stock by double-digit percentages? That's the power of market optics, the perception of change, not necessarily the reality. Technical terms: market capitalization and shareholder return. Investors don't just buy companies, they buy leadership. When a new CEO is announced, Wall Street analysts scramble to predict the future, often overreacting to the symbolism. Let me tell you a story. When a struggling company hires a high-profile leader, stock prices can spike overnight even before a single change is made. But if that leader stumbles, the price can plummet just as fast. Now, you might ask, is this rational? Not always, but human psychology, especially herd mentality, drives markets as much as spreadsheets do. The takeaway? If you lead, understand the weight of your title. Your words and actions ripple far beyond your office. Use that influence to inspire, not just to manage perceptions. Let's address the elephant in the boardroom. What does it do to company culture when leaders are rewarded for failure? The technical terms here are moral hazard and agency problem. When top brass gets golden parachutes, it can demoralize everyone else. Think about it. Regular employees get fired for minor mistakes, while senior execs get record-breaking payouts. The conflict? This creates a culture of cynicism and erodes trust. If the rules don't apply equally, why bother striving for excellence? You might be thinking, does this mean I should stop caring? Absolutely not. The real resolution comes from within. Great leaders at any level build cultures where accountability and growth matter more than personal payoffs. So, whether you're running a team or just starting out, strive to be the leader who lifts others up. Recognize mistakes, learn from them, but never make failure a stepping stone at someone else's expense. Personal growth isn't about always winning, it's about owning your journey, setting higher standards, and encouraging those around you to do the same. Let's bring it home. If you're not a Fortune 500 CEO, what can you learn from all this? Here's the setup. Most of us don't have golden parachutes, but we can build our own safety net skills, relationships, and reputation. The conflict? It's easy to envy those who seem to fail upward, but that path is rare, precarious, and often comes with invisible costs like public scrutiny, isolation, and immense pressure. Now you might ask, how can I create upward momentum in my own career? Start by focusing on real value-solved problems, build trust, and keep learning. Cultivate a network, but don't depend on it for shortcuts. Leverage your unique skills, not just your connections. Let me share a secret. The most satisfying growth isn't accidental or unearned. It's intentional, built on resilience, adaptability, and integrity qualities that outlast any contract or payout. So, as you navigate your own journey, ask yourself, am I building the kind of legacy I'd be proud to fail or succeed upward from? That's what truly matters.